Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Speak, Film, and Enter, a podcast where we review and rank movies. I'm Nate,
And I'm Dylan.
and today we've got the roundup for you for April 2023. Unfortunately, Adam could not join us. He is traveling at the moment, so Dylan and I will handle the roundup this month. And if this is your first time joining us for one of these, we review a lot of movies here, mostly new movies, but we also watch a lot of older stuff just over the course of the month. And this is the place that we've given ourselves to talk about those that interest us or that we really liked or whatever. And to kind of give it some semblance of structure, we break it down into 4 categories. And Dylan, would you like to tell the people what those categories are?
Yeah, we break it down into best new movie, best rewatch, dud of the month, or worst movie, and then movie that we just want to talk about for any reason, and that's up to us.
Yeah. So let's dive right in with best new watch. And do you want to go first, or do you want me to?
I can go first because I did not get to as many movies as usual this month. It was pretty short or a pretty weak month for me. So I only have one best new watch, and it's one that I know you are also going to have on your list, and it's one that we are going to do another episode on in the near future, and that is Dead Man from 1995, starring Johnny Depp and Gary Farmer, written and directed by Jim Jarmusch. Just absolutely, just a great, fantastic movie. Just really enjoyable, really unique, funny, smart. Had some kind of dark moments. There was just so much going on. I had a great time, and yeah, we're definitely going to do an episode on it very soon.
Yeah, so I mean, we can just say that will be our next movie club movie.
Yes,
which we hadn't decided yet when we did our last one, which was Bound, first movie from the directors of The Matrix. So we didn't share that during the episode, but the next one will be Dead Man, and mostly just because Dylan and I watched it and loved it, and we're gonna make Adam watch it, and then we'll do an episode on it in about a week or two.
That's how it works.
Yeah, exactly. So look out for that. So you only had that one, right? So then on me for best new watch. So Dead Man, my best new watch of the month as well. I also had 3 others that I really enjoyed. Another one was our previous movie club pick, which was Bound.
Oh, yep.
Which I really enjoyed. Oh, also really quick, I did want to mention that Dead Man is on HBO Max and the Criterion Channel. So if people do want to go check that out, which again, we're highly recommending that.
Highly recommend.
Yeah, go watch Dead Man if you get a chance. So Bound, which we just did an episode on, so I'll link to that and you can check out all of our thoughts there. But all 3 of us really liked that. Really fun 90s kind of mix of like a throwback and a really fresh thriller.
Yeah.
Really, really fun movie about 2 women who try to rip off the mob. And it's got a really small cast of characters and kind of tight-knit locations between just mostly 2 apartments. I thought that was a blast. Really surprising because I hadn't even heard of it until about a week before we reviewed it. So that was a very pleasant surprise.
If you've followed our recommendation from the past to check out Blood Simple, the Coen brothers' first movie, if you did check that out and you liked it, then definitely check out Bound.
Yeah, I think that would make a really good double feature.
For sure.
And then I also did attend the Minneapolis-St. Paul International Film Festival this month, which accounted for a lot of my movies. I won't be getting into any of those here. We're going to be releasing a separate episode where I will list my favorites and least favorites of the festival, probably like 5 favorites and 2 or 3 that were just disappointments to me. So look out for that. And then 2 other movies, though, in theaters that are in theaters now that I saw this month outside of the film fest that I loved. The first one of those is How to Blow Up a Pipeline.
Yeah. I gotta try to check this out before it's too late.
You really need to see it. Sort of eco thriller about like 8 to 10 people across the US who come together to try to blow up an oil pipeline. You know, big message movie, climate change, all that kind of stuff going on, and this like climate anxiety that a lot of people, kind of millennials and under, feel very strongly. It's just tense from beginning to end. The movie does a cool job of kind of dropping you into the middle, and then every so often gives you like a little 3 to 5 minute flashback, and eventually shows how all of the characters came together and met each other and kind of got on this trajectory.
Okay, cool.
So really interesting, really well done. I loved that. Highly recommended. Probably my favorite movie of the year so far. And then the other one is nothing like How to Blow Up a Pipeline or Bound or Dead Man, and that is Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, which is a wonderful coming of age sort of tween movie based on the classic 1970 book by Judy Blume, about a girl starting 6th grade, and it's all about just kind of puberty starting and when are they gonna, as they call it, start growing and getting their periods and stuff. And it's very refreshing to see a movie about kids this age that just wears its heart on its sleeve and is genuine and doesn't feel the need to be ironic and kind of wink at the audience a little bit every time. I thought that was really nice. And then also just tackling these issues that half the world goes through that are just really, for some reason, taboo subjects for like people just don't like to talk about them. And it's very normal stuff for, like I said, half of the people on earth.
Yeah.
And normalizing that stuff and making a movie about how I really like that the movie stayed in 1970. They didn't feel the need
Yeah,
to
that's a cool
bring it
choice.
to today. I thought that was cool. And also just shows how the same it probably still is. Really fun cast too. The girl who played the lead, I'll find her name here really quick, but Rachel McAdams plays the mom.
Nice.
And Kathy Bates plays her grandmother. Benny Safdie plays her dad. It's Abby Ryder Fortson, who you would recognize. She played Paul Rudd's daughter in the first 2 Ant-Man movies.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Yeah. And directed by Kelly Freeman Craig, who also directed Edge of 17 with Haley Steinfeld from like 2017, 18, somewhere in there, which is one of my favorite high school movies ever. So she's 2 for 2 for me. Really, really good movie. So definitely go check out How to Blow Up a Pipeline and Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret in theaters.
All right, nice. Back to me for best rewatch.
Yep.
And this, I'm going back to a movie from 2013, which I saw when it came out and totally did not get it and thought it was slow and weird. And it took me a while to finally come around and watch it again.
Oh, is this what I think it is?
Yes, this is Under the Skin, the sci-fi drama horror mystery movie starring Scarlett Johansson, directed by Jonathan Glazer, and a very kind of early A24 movie when their whole thing was just getting started. And I think now, seeing it now, after getting much more familiar with A24 and they've established themselves and kind of knowing what to expect as far as, kind of groundbreaking or just kind of trying new things from a filmmaking standpoint. Now I appreciated how weird it was and thought everything kind of made more sense this time. Everything kind of clicked. Just a fascinating sci-fi idea. The visually how the alien is represented and when people are like taken by like the alien, like what that looks like. I mean, just really, I was just really impressed. I felt like a lot of similarities to Nope, which was my favorite movie of the year last year. Just a really solid movie. So that jumped up a full star for me and was easily the best rewatch of the month. I'm definitely on the now I get it. Now I felt like I was on the other side of that fence. Now I'm on the right side of the fence.
Makes me so happy because that movie is unlike anything else I've ever seen. And Scarlett Johansson in a performance unlike anything she's ever done.
And an extremely dark moment that you had forgotten about because you haven't seen it in a while. And I reminded you of it. I was like, because I had also forgotten of it. I mean, wow, like very unsettling. Just
it's dark and it's a slow burn. Boundaries. but very thought-provoking and very disturbing. So yeah,
I love
we both,
the flipping of the usual dynamic of like, you know, a sexual predator kind of lurking the streets looking for a victim. I love at the beginning there's kind of a very long montage of her just driving around and the camera just goes to every guy on the street one by one. And that
yeah,
very effective
and you
kind
don't
of
really know what
reverse.
she's doing yet at that point,
Yeah,
if I
but you
remember
know that
correctly.
he's up to something. It's just like, you know,
Hmm.
how many times have we seen a horror movie, whatever serial killer movie, where we have that, but from, you know, it's almost always a guy stalking a girl or stalking women, you know, looking for
Yep.
victims. So this was very interesting kind of twist on it, and I felt like they really drove that kind of point home.
Yeah. So I only rewatched 3 movies this month because I saw 21 movies in the theater.
Yep.
Most of those were at the film
Film
fest.
festival, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I rewatched The Social Network and The Perks of Being a Wallflower. Those were actually the only 2 movies in the entire month that I watched at home.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, they're both just still in my top 100. I love both of those movies. Nothing groundbreaking. There wasn't a big moment in either one of them that changed my opinion on it, which is usually what I try to find here, like you did with Under the Skin. So I'll just say those are both great movies, and everybody should check them out.
Yep.
And on to Dud of the Month. I have a feeling we are going to have the same movie.
Yeah, mine, you know, here's a movie that the premise sounds like something I could at least kind of enjoy, and is the actor also type of thing I would usually enjoy his work. And I heard it was bad, and I wanted to see for myself, and it indeed is bad. And that is the Adam Driver film 65.
Oh, okay. I was not expecting you to say this.
Yes, no, I know which one you're expecting, and I agree with that one. That'll be a nice kind of handoff because that was my second
Yes.
one. But yeah, this one, I luckily was able to watch it without having to go to the movie theater and pay $10 to watch it. Astronaut crash lands on a mysterious planet only to discover he's not alone. Guess what? It's 65 million years ago and there's dinosaurs. But somehow, with even with that setup and him being like futuristic, you know, person from the future, so he's got futuristic technology, weapons and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's just such a dud of a movie. It's just so like lame and predictable and just not memorable in any way. Like the only
That's
things
what
I
I've
can
heard.
remember about it are bad things. Mostly, they did something weird with the design of the dinosaurs, where I feel like they some of the dinosaurs they embellish to make even scarier, and I just don't think that what I was seeing was like a real dinosaur. Like it just felt I don't know the CGI. It was strange.
I
Um,
think we have a mutual friend who also watched this, and I think he said something about there was a dinosaur in there that he's pretty sure like wasn't real
Yeah,
ever.
yeah. Ever no, they just made it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, they very gratuitous, fucking um, changing of history and whatnot. But yeah, it was just a dud. It was just totally lame. So that's my first dud of the month, and then my other dud of the month, which we saw together and walked out of the theater just shaking our
Baffled.
heads, exhausted, bored. We were both waiting for it to get over, and that is Beau is Afraid, and the three
Yeah.
hour Ari Aster, Joaquin Phoenix horror drama comedy.
Definitely comedy for sure. This is a very polarizing movie, and we both land on the side that does not like this at all.
Yeah.
And we're kind of still deciding if we want to bother doing an episode on it. It feels like
Mhm.
that train has kind of come and gone.
Yeah, it's
Um,
hard to get motivated to do it for a movie where
yeah.
we both just did not enjoy it. And it's 3 hours
So
long. That was part of it too. If it would have been 2 hours long, I think I would have walked out of there like, I wasn't feeling that. But that last hour, I just felt like I was captive in the theater.
yeah, so for me, it kind of I actually think the first I didn't have a timer on me or anything, but the first like 30 or 40 minutes, everything that kind of happens in the city and in his apartment, I think is really creative, a lot of really funny stuff, and it's a really interesting world that Ari Aster has created.
Hmm.
Everything after that, I think, is a big miss. It mostly for me, once I kind of realized exactly what Ari Aster was doing with this movie, where I just kind of was disappointed to see that it just continued being that.
Mm-hmm.
Where this isn't even really a spoiler, but just every scene is basically just what a very fearful, anxious person is Joaquin Phoenix playing is like the thing that he's most afraid of that he can imagine in his
Mm-hmm.
head that could possibly happen next. That's what happens. And
Yep.
it's just that over and over and over again, which is a weird thing because it makes this movie like really almost like uncreative and boring for how much weird zany stuff is in it. It's just kind of this. It's weird for me to say that this movie is just the same thing over and over again because they introduce a lot of different characters and a lot of different kind
He
of
goes
settings,
different
and
places. Yeah,
it
it
goes
moves.
places, but it's just the same concept over and over and over, and it never changes except for this sort of visually interesting, like 20-minute sort of animated dream sequence that's
Yeah, that was cool.
basically just like his version of I'm thinking of ending things, like the
Yeah.
end of that movie. So I don't know. Neither of us were fans of this, and I think
Mm-hmm.
at this point, this is probably all we're gonna say about it. I would think, just because there's more stuff coming out, and like you still haven't seen How to Blow Up a Pipeline.
Yeah.
Adam and I have a movie from the Minneapolis Film Fest that we want to do a review of, and Guardians is coming
Mm-hmm.
out. So I don't know. I just don't really want to bother talking about this movie much anymore.
Yep. Agreed. It's just a letdown. Sorry to say. Liked Ari Aster's other movies, but was not feeling this.
Yeah. So on to miscellaneous or movies we want to talk about.
Mm.
And back to you.
So mine is a little movie that quietly was dropped onto streaming, and it is a Willem Dafoe picture
Oh, yeah. You got to tell
called
me about this.
Inside. Yes.
Yes.
Essentially, kind of a weird art heist, psychological thriller, listed as a drama thriller. Basically, a high end art thief gets trapped in a New York penthouse. He's locked inside with nothing but priceless works of art, and he must use all his cunning and ingenuity to survive. And by using all of his cunning and ingenuity to survive, what they mean is Willem Dafoe barely ekes out a surviving while losing his marbles for like an hour and a half straight.
Sure.
Because he none of the water works in the apartment, and like the so pretty quickly things are dire, and then he figures out ways to just barely stay alive, but his mental state deteriorates as the movie goes on pretty hard, and there's a lot of interesting ideas bouncing around, and certainly visually it was very interesting to look at. A lot of shots of literal art, but also just the way things are framed, and the apartment that he's in is very interesting and cool. And then as he starts to freak out and kind of he's trying everything to see where's a weak point where he can escape, there's a point that's in the ceiling, but it's like in the living room that has a way vaulted ceiling. So he's assembling some sort of like structure so he can climb up and get to that. So
Okay.
throughout the movie, he's like building this big like mountain of stuff, like furniture, and it like as the movie goes on, it builds, and there's interesting things going on, but they take it too far because things get kind of gross, like they indulge in the
Okay.
grossness, like which I didn't feel like was necessary. I think their point was trying to be like everything can be art, or like, but like I don't know, a bunch of yeah. But Willem Dafoe basically carries it by himself. With with almost any other actor, I think this would be just a complete waste of time. But with Dafoe, like he's kind of just so fascinating to watch, and he's so good at being weird that he lends it kind of like a seriousness, like a gravitas, just him being involved, like
Okay.
him saying these quotes about art, and it's interesting. In the end, I think I gave it a 2.5. It's just okay. I really wanted to like it more, but I can see why people definitely don't like it. It's funny, the average score when it first came out was like 6.5, and every time I've checked since, it goes down and down and down, and now I think it's at 5.5. Because it also has like an ending that kind of, makes you think, not like explains everything. So it's, I don't know.
Sure.
I can see why people hate it. But yeah, I checked it out. If you're a big Defoe fan and you're willing to just kind of watch him be weird and look at pretty art, it's worth checking out.
Okay. So for me, I saw. I'm a fan of a Japanese anime director named Makoto Shinkai, who
Humble
has
brag.
directed Weathering with You and Your Name, which you may have heard of.
Mm.
Your Name was huge in 2016. I like that one a lot. Weathering with You is also good, I think, not as good as Your Name. And then he had a new movie come out a few weeks ago in the US called Suzume,
Ooh.
which is, and just watch some trailers of this guy's movies. They are gorgeous, just stunning 2D animation. We don't get this stuff over here in the US animation really very often anymore at all.
Yeah.
So was really looking forward to this. And it's interesting in that it's a fantasy movie, and the fantasy elements are very convoluted and don't always fit together nicely for me. But the
Okay.
characters are good, and the story, like the core of the story that he's telling, is really, really touching.
Mm.
So most of it works, and the highs for me were very, very high. There was a moment towards the end of this movie of just stunning emotional beauty that, I mean, like 5-star moment easily.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little inconsistent. I gave it a 3.5. It's really good. I definitely recommend people check it out. So it's about, or kind of a story about, the kids who in Japan, which from what I've read, they just refer to as 311. In March, I believe, 2011, a tsunami just destroyed a bunch of the countryside and some
Mm.
villages, and a lot of people died. And there are still a lot of kids who survived that, but are just orphans now,
Yeah.
living in other places. Uh, and Suzume is one of these kids. She's in high school now. So, kind of the synopsis is Suzume, 17, lost her mother as a little girl. On her way to school, she meets a mysterious young man, but her curiosity unleashes a calamity that endangers the entire population of Japan. And so Suzume embarks on a journey to set things right. This guy is looking for magical doors to make sure they stay closed, because through those doors comes giant worms from another dimension, and they are what cause earthquakes.
Oh shit. Okay. All right.
Yeah, there are a lot of earthquakes in Japan. I mean, I think you know that too. There's like many per day. They're not all
Yeah.
huge, obviously, but it's just constant.
And I didn't know that was because of the worms.
Yes, it's because of these worms that only a few people can see.
Okay. Interesting.
So she ends up having the ability to see these worms as well, and she sort of accidentally frees one of the guardians of one of these doors.
Okay.
And it starts this sort of chain reaction where her and this guy have to travel like all over Japan trying to get to these doors before they open and prevent all these earthquakes.
Interesting.
It's an
Okay.
interesting metaphor. There's some other stuff to the fantasy elements of this that, like I said, I thought got too convoluted and a little confusing. The guy gets turned into a chair like 15 minutes into the movie, and he's just like a walking, talking chair for like most of. I don't, So there's some parts of it that I'm like, okay, I guess, but the characters are really good. It's funny. The animation is stunning, and like the core of the story is great. So even
Mm.
though I thought the fantasy moments and stuff was a little clunky at times, I thought it was a really good movie. And if you're a fan of animation, you should absolutely check it out. Again, that's Suzume, same director as Your Name and Weathering with You.
Cool. All right. Well, that was a good roundup. Was there anything else you wanted to mention, or I believe it's my turn to put a wrap on the show?
Yeah, it's all you.
All right. Cats die, music fades, but art is for keeps.